Good morning and welcome to another edition of United Way for Southeastern Michigan's What's the Word Wednesday, where we share important resources and have vibrant discussions about the topics that matter most to you. My name is Shayla Zimmerman, and today we are going to continue our winter resource series with a discussion that focuses on caring for your mental health during the winter months. Winter months are really challenging for many of our community members. From December to February, our What's the Word Wednesday town halls will feature topics, organizations, and speakers that focus on the diverse needs and resources of our community members throughout Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, and Washtenaw counties. A few reminders for today's discussion. We are having some technical difficulties this morning, so if you are joining us on Zoom, please ensure that you are muted. And we hope to have time for a few questions from our audience, so please put your questions in the chat box on Zoom. Closed captionings are enabled in Zoom. To turn them on, please click on the Show Captions button at the bottom of your screen. It is so important to care for our mental health during the winter months. Many of us face holiday stressors, challenging family dynamics, and mental illnesses like seasonal mood disorders and depression. According to the American Academy of Family Physicians, about 4 to 6% of people suffer from winter depression in the United States. Today, we are joined by an expert to share resources and important tools for us to care for our mental health. So I'm pleased to introduce you to our speaker for today, Uriel Stevens. Uriel has served as the Director of Child and Family Services for Easterseals MORC for the past 10 years. Easterseals MORC provides services to both children and adults across the state of Michigan with mental health illnesses, autism, substance abuse, and intellectual disabilities. Welcome, Uriel. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you. So thanks, you gave a great introduction about a little bit about who we are at Easterseals MORC. We have served the state of Michigan for over 100 years. Our mission is to support 100% equity, inclusion, and access for people and their families dealing with disabilities, including long-term care and behavioral health needs. We're a certified community behavioral health center, which means that we are able to support the continuum of care regardless of insurance or being underinsured. And as you can see, we continue to grow, serving more than 25,000 children and adults and seniors throughout the state. In the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit more about the services we provide. So we provide comprehensive mental health services for children and adults and families. We are also co-located in 32 different schools across Oakland and Genesee County. We provide autism services, including ABA, speech and OT therapies. And we also provide comprehensive intellectual developmental disability services across the lifespan. In our next slide, you'll see a little bit about the populations that we serve. So we continue to see an increase in people accessing both behavioral health and our long-term intellectual disability services. As you can see in this slide, our largest growth population is with older adults. There's no shortage of mental health needs. I'm going to talk a little bit about the topic today of winter blues and holiday stress. Holidays can be a joyous time, but can also increase stress. This slide shows some of the key factors that can impact our mental wellness. Around the holidays, we can often deal with stressful schedules, trying to pack multiple engagements in a short amount of time, often double booking ourselves. Another area is putting so much pressure on ourselves to get everything done, to meet everybody's demands and their expectations. In some cases, we may not have our family near us. So separation from our loved ones during this time can also cause added stress and sadness. Increases in feelings of loneliness if you're not around your family or haven't made those connections in your community. And let's not forget family dynamics. Strained relationships can play out more in holiday season, as we often hear about the family drama at the dinner table. Seasonal depression. Some people are more prone to seasonal depression due to the lack of sunlight and more dismal weather. And this is just compounded with the stressors from the holidays. What I'd like to talk about now is there are some 4 main symptoms that could be experienced if feeling some seasonal depression. And it's bigger than just the normal stress. So feeling depressed, feeling hopeless for more days than not, often hearing about not wanting to get out of bed, not wanting to do the normal routine activities, just getting dressed, loss of interest in things that you used to enjoy doing. Another factor that sometimes gets overlooked when we talk about depression is feeling anxious or nervous more, or more on edge, which also leads to the next factor, trouble sleeping or feeling more exhausted in the morning, restless at night, not being able to get that rest. So what can we do about it? That's the big question. So the most important thing is to create space and time for self-care. Give ourselves grace, especially during the stressful holiday season. It's okay to say no. It's okay to not meet all the demands. The other big thing is engaging in the things that you enjoy. So what are the things that bring you joy? And making time, again, to do that. A big one that we talk about a lot, and this is, we've seen a lot of this, is building those connections with others. You know, during the pandemic, we saw a lot of loss around having that face-to-face or engaging with other people. Another thing is identifying what your coping strategies are. What works well for you? I'm going to share a little bit about what we did a few years ago to really address some of those winter blues. We created a campaign on recognizing winter blues with the support of our amazing clinical team by creating coping skills boxes. I'm going to share a little bit more about how to create one for yourself. So the important part of building a coping skill box is being able to have activities or little fidgets like you see above that support the 5 senses. So you want to pick something that might have a soothing smell. So perfumes, lotions, scented candles. Often people choose lavender because lavender has that calming property. Another one is sound. So you could create a playlist of songs that have calming or pleasing memories. Some people even have different chimes that they put in their boxes. Touch. Choose items that you can hold or rub in your hands. Often you see those fidgets like the poppet here. The other one is taste. Putting hard candies, butterscotch, gum, or mints, even or chocolate in some cases. They all have properties. Chocolate has properties that help reduce anxiety. Sight. Putting things that are visually appealing. Maybe it's a photograph of someone in your family, or maybe it's some of these cards that even talk about some mindfulness activities that can help ground you. For more information on how you could get screened for anxiety and depression, you could visit our website at www.eastersealsmorc.org. Or if you'd like to find more information about how to access services, you can contact us at 1-800-75-SEALS. And now I think we'll open this up for questions in the chat.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Uriel. Thank you so much for presenting that and sharing that information. I know for myself, I'm definitely already thinking about all the things that I can put in my own coping box. So thank you for sharing that. So for our audience, please feel free to drop in questions in the chat, and we will do our best to get to them. So my first question for you, Uriel, is you talked a lot about coping mechanisms and tools. And so I'm wondering for our audience, what are some of the things that our audience can do right now, as they're with us, actually to improve their mental health?
Sure. One of the easiest things that we can do to calm ourselves is deep breathing. Deep breathing helps not just ground us, but also relax our heart. Sometimes when we're anxious, right, our heartbeat, and helping control our breathing also can take down that heartbeat. And there's numerous deep breathing activities that you can do, from counting to 5 with a deep breath and then exhaling, or my favorite one, which I won't stand, is the superhero one, where you put your hands on your hips, pretend you're a superhero, and do 5 deep breaths. Another activity that you can do, and I kind of alluded to it in the coping box, is mindfulness. And that's where you can close your eyes and ground yourself in, I'll use the example of a balloon that changes different colors until I can brightly see all those colors.
I love those. Those are really helpful. So just focusing on our breathing, being more mindful, hopefully engaging our senses with the coping boxes. Um, so I know you mentioned screeners on the Easterseals MORC website. Could you walk us through a little bit about what that process will look like, what the screeners might consist of, things like
Sure.
that?
Sure, there's multiple screenings on our site. There's screenings for, as I said, anxiety, depression, substance use and abuse. And essentially, it'll ask you some questions that are symptoms of some of those anxiety and depression or mental health issues. And then it will, at the end, make some recommendations of what next steps might be. If that's talking to someone, reaching out to us, or looking for other services.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Um, and then I know we got a question in the chat about, is there a role for physical activity in all of this?
Definitely, always. There's
Yeah.
even in a coping skills box, you could have little cards that might indicate what physical activity. So for some people, walking, right, is while it's a little bit harder in the winter, but being able to sometimes even do jumping jacks or squats or some activity. A big thing now is yoga, right? And yoga and mindfulness. So putting those two activities together to help reduce anxiety and help some of the symptoms of depression.
Thank you for that. I know for me, I definitely enjoy stretching. So maybe it's not fully yoga, but just stretching and I don't know, like relaxing. I find it very relaxing.
I think that goes back to, again, what we talked about earlier is the importance of finding what works for you and what brings, what helps support you in your mental wellness, and identifying those things, especially as we enter these stressful holiday times. Like, what are the things that, maybe it's that phone call with that best friend that lives 3 states away.
Yeah, yeah. I loved how you talked about finding the joy and focusing on those joyful activities, or just what brings you joy. I really appreciated that.
I also think another big part of it when we talk about the holiday stress, and this is where the one of those big factors is trying to meet everybody's demands, but being able to support ourselves and our boundaries and saying, we might not be able to make every activity. We might not be able to have those 6 Christmas dinners at everyone's
Yeah,
family's home.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So setting boundaries for yourself, focusing on things that bring you joy. Um, and so I'm also wondering too, there's for those of us that might be concerned about like a loved one or a family member, a friend that's struggling with their mental health or substance abuse, like what advice would you have for them if they're more concerned about a loved one or someone they care about?
I would look towards having that conversation with them and maybe encouraging them to take one of those screening activities and see what comes out of that, or connecting them with a resource. Um, we've even had, there's definitely when we've had people reach out to support others and maybe have that initial conversation about what it would look like to support your mental health by reaching out to a counselor.
So maybe not only focused on the one that we care about, but also reaching out ourselves
Mm-hmm.
to a counselor and confiding in that counselor
Mm-hmm.
about the situation. That's great. Thank you. So I'm curious, like moving into Easterseals MORC, I'm curious about what is something that Easterseals does, or that the work you do that people don't commonly know about, like a hidden gem or something.
I think all of the work we do is that the hidden gem, but I think
Mhm.
this year, most recently, being able to support the whole person is, and all families, despite what challenges or disabilities they're facing on both the intellectual disability side and the behavioral health side. I think what also makes us unique is that the being a CCBHC, which I discussed, is there's no wrong door. We make it very easy to access services. We also support a lot of the community by being in schools and providing that counseling on site to students to overcome that barrier for even families having to walk into an office to get that support. In
Mm.
addition, we also have what we call a mental health consultation team that work side by side with school staff on supporting mental health in
Wow, that
schools,
is
but for them as well, because we know teachers and administrators and school staff have gone through a lot of challenges in the past few years.
absolutely, yeah, they need support just as much as the students do, right? I appreciate you saying that.
Yep. And as an organization, as I said earlier, we're seeing the need for mental health supports across our state, and being able to create innovative programs to meet those needs.
Amazing. Thank you. And you talk a lot about like accessibility, right, for people seeking care. Do you know if there is mental health support for folks that do not have insurance,
Yes, that's part
that
of
do not have health insurance?
yes, that's part of being this community certified behavioral health center is supporting individuals that may not have insurance and or are underinsured, and helping them work through that process. And there's CCBHCs pretty much in every county right now, and sometimes 2 or more in the different counties. But I think we strongly support people getting the care they need regardless of what economic situation is. Our health Our physical health and our mental health are important.
Absolutely. And would Easterseals, would you all be able to recommend care for physical health as well?
Yes, that's part of, we have programs that are integrated health programs where we support physical health and mental health. We also coordinate with, if there's other doctors involved, to make sure that we're supporting physical health first and foremost and connecting it with the mental health supports. And in some of our sites, we actually have FQHCs, which are federally qualified health centers on site, so people could access that primary care.
Wow, I did not know that about Easterseals. That's amazing. That's great. And so one more question came through the chat, just about the major triggers of seasonal depression. And I know you talked a lot about what seasonal depression might look like for someone, but what are some of those triggers that might um, make it worse, or even, I don't know if cause it, you know?
Some of those triggers could be if there's a life-changing event, um, extra, increased stress, like we talked about, the holiday stress could be a trigger. For some people that it's just the season, it can be that the days are shorter, that there's less light. But again, it can also be exacerbated by some of those other factors, that if there's greater stress, dealing with anxiety, or life events that seem more challenging.
Absolutely. So, I think my final question for you is, yeah, what do you want our audience today to leave with, to share about with their family members and friends? Like, what is something that you really want our audience to get out of your presentation today and our conversation today?
I think the importance of our mental wellness. So the importance of, we talk a lot about physical health, but the impact of our mental health and ensuring that we are taking care of ourselves, connecting ourselves with the resources we need if we are facing those challenges, and being able to take those screenings and having the conversations about mental health is the start.
Absolutely. So for anyone that's joining today that might have realized that they have, seasonal depression, or just having negative family dynamics, things like that, extra holiday stress, please visit Easterseals website to get that, to get assistance and to do those screenings and build a coping box. Thank you so much, Uriel, for today and sharing these great resources. I know for me, I'm definitely going to go make a coping box after this call. So thank you for that.
It's an easy thing to do and a fun thing too.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And before we close, I do have a few updates for our audience. Um, so as a reminder, sorry, as a reminder, for anyone in our community who may be experiencing a need, our 211 helpline remains available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So this includes resources like food, utility assistance, and much more. This also includes during the holiday season, our 211 helpline is always available. So we always maintain a running list of available resources in the community and can connect you to the support that you need. You can also look up resources in your area by using the 211 resource database at unitedwaysem.org/211. And one of the best ways to give back during this time of year or any time of year is to get involved in the community as a volunteer. United Way's volunteer portal can help. Our online portal lets you search for volunteer opportunities that best match your abilities and interests. It even lets you set up alerts for the types of volunteer projects or organizations you care most about. Visit unitedwaysem.org/volunteer to get started. And lastly, our next What's the Word Wednesday town hall will be on January 17th, and we'll focus on honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and other civil rights leaders through youth empowerment and youth leadership. So we will be joined by Jerwan Howard, the founder and CEO of Umoja Debate League and Umoja Village, for this special town hall. Be sure to tune in for that town hall and more coming up. To stay updated on our upcoming topics and watch replays of previous town halls, please visit unitedwayscm.org/virtual town halls. Thank you everyone so much. We will see you in the new year. Happy holidays to all that celebrate and continue to live united.